So
Correct.
what made you start the black owned outerwear? Tell me what made you start that? What gave you the idea? I know you was into fashion, but what made you? Who put the battery in your back to say, man, you need to have your own clothing line. Your designs is tight. Who did that for you?
Actually, it was just myself, you know. But like I said, I've always been into dressing. I spend a lot of money, you know, every weekend. You know, in our culture, in hip hop culture, being fresh is the thing. You know, you hear the word fresh in hip hop culture a lot, and usually, if you're black, you know what hip hop culture is about. You're a part of it. You've been exposed to it. You live it.
That's
somewhat,
right.
somewhat. So growing up, being fresh, even though we grew up hard, we still had to find a way to look fresh. And in my scenario, I would just wear my older brother's clothes, and that made me fresh. You know, he go to work, I put his shirt on, big and all. But like I said, I spent a lot of money on clothing my whole life. So I started to think, like, you know, about doing my own thing. But it didn't happen overnight. It was just those thoughts. I knew I wanted to have a clothing line at some point 4 years ago, before I even came, you know, started doing Black On. I knew I wanted to have a clothing line, but I also knew that I wanted to finish school first. So just was going through some things in my life about where I wanted to be. You know, I said I grew up downtown, but I went to Miami University, which is an all-white university. So those two totally different spectrums of life. You know, you got what they call the hood, and then what you call the prestigious. Some people call Miami the Harvard of the Midwest. So it's two totally different lifestyles. So basically, I had 1 foot here, 1 foot there after graduating and going through some challenging times and some things, and I had to ask myself, who owns me? So I asked myself, who owns me, because I'm a part of hip hop culture, and because of that, a lot of times we're influenced a lot by what we see on the television screen.
That's right.
So I was, you know, I'm one of those persons. I admit, you start to fall in love with this culture, and you start doing things you see other people do, and some of those things get you in trouble. So, you know, I wanted to make sure I was keeping things going in the right direction. So I said, who owns me? Well, I own me.
That's
And,
right.
you know, and I started thinking about, I own me. That's the biggest part of black owned, the ownership of taking ownership of your life.
Wait a minute, young man. Now I know you young people out there is watching, and he just said, I own me. So I want you to tune into your TV. I want you to turn everything else down so he can explain this to you. This is very important to young people that's in the hip hop culture, that people that's still doing a lot of the things that they see on TV, just like this young man.
Right.
Now I'd like you to go ahead and explain what that means to the people.
Yeah, before I proceed, though, I want to say I mean, stars are in place for a reason. These, you know, these rap stars or singers, they're in place for a reason. Some things that you get from them aren't bad, but like I said, some of the things can get you in some trouble. So, ownership, you know, that's the biggest part of black owned. You know, the own part, I would say, is the big part, because, you know, you get to take ownership of your life. I just happen to be black. So, you know, I just happen to be black, and I feel like I own myself. That's black owned. But we always say black owned is a state of mind, not a color line, because when I created this, I wasn't just thinking this is something just for us. I was just thinking this is just my circumstance. But when you think about black, you know, black is the color of sophistication. If someone invites you to a black tie event, what does that mean? It's going to be an elegant event.
That's right.
Black is the color of seriousness, authority, success. And if your goal in life is to be owned by those things as well, to be owned by success or authority and seriousness about your life, then you're owned by black, which is black represents those things. So if you're also owned by those things, you're black owned as well, you know. So just having ownership over life, you know, it's fashion, but it's fashion with a state.